What's going on, Laker fans? D-Mac here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. Would the Lakers really trade LeBron James? We're going to dive into that in just a second. But quick reminder for all the latest Lakers news, rumors, breakdowns, and more all off season long. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you really want to support the channel, smash that like button. And as always, I want your takes down below in the comment section. Today's Lakers 24-8 question of the day. Should the Lakers trade LeBron James? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Let me know down below. What are some packages you want to see? Who are some teams you want to see him traded to? Let me know down below in the comment section. And for all latest Lakers news, head over to alllakers.com. I guess or whatever. And then we'll jump right into it. So I'm going to just read this. Okay. So would the Lakers really consider trading LeBron James? Well, today I'm joined, as always, by Eric Yulo of alllakers.com. What up, Yulo?
How you doing, Doug?
Man, so we got to talk about this. We'll jump right into this. Bill Plaschke of the LA Times, he was on the Doug Gottlieb show, and he was quoted as saying, "I've heard that Phil would like LeBron traded. I've just heard that. I do know that Phil would like to keep Westbrook and try to make it work with him." So one, would they trade LeBron James? Would it be the curse of the LeBron Bino here in Los Angeles? Would you trade possibly the best player in the history of the NBA with 1 year remaining on his contract? What are your thoughts just initially on the idea of the Lakers trading LeBron James?
I think it's nuts. I know Lakers fans are pretty split on LeBron. There's a lot of vitriol there. You know, his Clutch Sports is running the team, his agency, and he's running the franchise into the ground. I mean, look, I know we go back and forth about their the bubble merchant championship in 2020, but I just don't see how this team gets better next year with trading LeBron. And they're not in a rebuild. Like, the Lakers do not rebuild. Is it worth thinking about? Yes, but what package, what players, what picks are you going to get for LeBron James? I mean, he still played at an MVP level. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, one of the biggest LeBron haters in the world, even said that LeBron would have got serious consideration for the MVP if the Lakers were better this year. So I'm not buying trading LeBron. I think it's crazy. I think it's a la land feeling from fans that they think that trading LeBron will make this team better, at least for next year.
So I agree with you. I think the idea of trading LeBron is kind of on the surface level a little preposterous, right? You don't trade a player like LeBron James if you're the Lakers because, one, it kind of destroys the Lakers model. It destroys their formula for success. You want to be able to lure in the marquee free agents, especially of LeBron's ilk. And if you trade LeBron James without his blessing, what does that tell future superstars down the line about signing with the purple and gold? But there is another way to look at this. The other train of thought is saying, hey, what if you convince LeBron James? What if you say, hey, you had a really good year last year, albeit you did play just 56 games, but if you look at those numbers, 30.3 points per game, 8.2 boards, 6.2 dimes, shot 52.4% from the field. I mean, like you said, he played at an MVP level when he was on the court. But what if you say, hey, LeBron, are you happy with 4 championships in 10 tries? Do you want to try to make a run at another ring? Because we don't think we can assemble a championship caliber roster around you. And if you get LeBron's blessing and you say, hey, maybe we don't sign that 2-year extension that you're eligible to sign in August. Maybe you say, hey, we will work with you and partner with you to explore a trade to maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the question is, what really would you get back in return for LeBron James? Because, like, he has 1 year left on his deal. Will he sign that extension in August? Do you think there's a market out there where the Lakers could get something back in exchange where it would make sense for them moving forward?
The Cleveland thing, I think Brian Windhorst said it, like, LeBron really loves living in LA, and I'll get back to that in a second. But for the Cavaliers, LeBron left you in ruins, as he does. That's just how it happens when he leaves a team. And you worked for years to get back to contention. They have a really exciting young core. Darius Garland looks like he could be an all NBA player down the road, if not even next year. I mean, they have a lot of exciting things going on there. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley from USC, our favorite LA school for sure. But I don't see the Cavs just gutting it all for 37-year-old LeBron. I don't see them signing up for that. I'd find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that ownership is going to sign off on going back on the LeBron carousel for a third time. And I know he can live wherever he wants, but I don't think he wants to spend a few months in Cleveland for it. Now the LA thing, and I forgot the gentleman's name, but he was on Fox Sports, and he brought up a great, there are two basketball teams in LA. So if we're going to go into crazy land here, what about Paul George for LeBron? Like, it's like, hey, you want to stay in LA? You want to contend? I don't know if Kawhi Leonard would sign off on that because he already passed up partnering with LeBron in the past. But, is that something, if LeBron wants to stay in LA, if he wants to contend, doesn't think the Lakers can do it for him, is that something he would consider?
Those are all really good points, Eric. And I think another thing to consider, too, is you have to factor in Bronny James, because what team is going to trade for LeBron James? Well, LeBron has been so open about wanting to play with his son whenever he is drafted. But I'm telling you, I've talked to scouts at the high school level, at the college level. They told me that the LeBron James Jr., he needs a couple years at the college level just to have a chance in the NBA. But that's a separate video, a separate argument. I think with LeBron's pull, he's going to force a team's hand into drafting him if he can say, hey, I'll sign an extension with you if you try to sign my son. But that's going to get very complicated because you really can't guarantee that in this league without it looking completely cooked, right? So I think if you're LeBron, that's another thing to factor in this situation. You've kind of backed yourself into that corner as far as you wanting to play with your son in the future. And you made also a great point about him establishing his roots here in Hollywood with Spring House Entertainment, Spring Hill Entertainment, whatever his production company is called. Of course, he's trying
the Spring Hill Company, valued at $750 million.
They're definitely rolling. I mean, LeBron's trying to build that LeBron here in Los Angeles. We know that, and he's been successful. I mean, his show on HBO with the barbershop. I mean, you saw Space Jam 2, even though it was panned a little bit by critics, it still made money. I mean, LeBron knows what he's doing. Also, 4 years in LA, has the best-selling jersey in the NBA. So he still is a brand, but I think there isn't that same connection with the Laker fans and LeBron. I just don't think it's ever going to happen with this roster, because I don't think they're going to be a championship contending team with the assets they have as presently constructed. You saw tickets. They were at an all-time low. I've never saw Lakers Warriors tickets going for $30. I mean, you saw the ratings plummeting. I mean, I don't think LeBron has moved the needle in Los Angeles from a fan standpoint like we all imagined that he would. I think we thought King James was going to be the king of LA. And yes, he did deliver that championship. And yes, we have debated over the merits of that championship and the validity of the Mickey Mouse ring. No, it's still a valid championship. I just don't think all championships are created equal, but I still give that championship a lot of credit. He deserves credit for delivering that ring. So to me, when I go back and trade Anthony Davis, I do it again and again. I would do it twice on Sunday. When I go back and sign LeBron James, absolutely. You don't keep a promising young core just because you think maybe they could win a championship when that team did win a championship. But at this juncture, I think the question is, if you truly believe that you can't surround Anthony Davis and LeBron James with a championship roster, and you also don't think that you could keep Anthony Davis on the court, I do think, hey, if you could convince LeBron James to want to execute a trade and you do it amicably and you get some pieces, some picks, maybe some young pieces, more about financial relief really at that point, Westbrook's off the books, then you can really find yourself in a down to the studs rebuild where they could be quicker and closer to a championship than they would be with LeBron James. Because kind of my biggest worry is we get to August. I know Windhorst has said that LeBron is more likely just to play out this 1 year of his contract and then kind of see how it goes from there rather than sign that 2-year extension. But my big fear is they get to that, and you know how this organization likes to cater to their stars, and they ink LeBron to that 2-year extension. Then what? We have a 39-year-old LeBron James at some point. Yes, he is an alien. What he's been able to do at this age is unprecedented, but the decline is inevitable. And do you want that decline to be while he's in the purple and gold? I think that's kind of my big question. So do you think that maybe if you're the Lakers, you try to find a way to just kind of finagle your way out of the LeBron James era? How could you do that if you're the Lakers?
I mean, he may do it for you, right? Because I think he's eligible to sign the 1+1, the classic LeBron contracts, where the first year is fully guaranteed, and the second year is a player option, or not fully guaranteed, but he's locked in that first year, and then he can opt out in the second year. So maybe that's what he ends up doing. And I mean, Jeannie Buss in that interview with the LA Times, Bill Plaschke said that the Lakers are fine with living year to year with LeBron. So he may even do it for you, and you don't even have to really worry about I would be surprised if there isn't a player option on that deal, because I believe he is eligible to have that player option on there. He wasn't on the deal he's currently on, which is kind of an abnormality, but that's just how it lined up. But yeah, 39-year-old LeBron, I mean, like you said, at 56 games, but I just still think that this franchise thinks they can build a contender around LeBron James. And I think too, if you do, let's say they do trade LeBron and they want to tear it down to the studs, as you said, do you really trust Rob Pelinka to build a roster like from the ground up? Because I don't think Pelinka can. I really don't. I mean, you saw it with what he did with Caruso, the Taylor Horton Tucker contract. We don't need to relitigate all of his many mistakes, but he treats this roster like fantasy football, and it's not going to work out. He's not the guy I want. He's not the architect I want building my brand new Lakers house.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like I said in the last show, there are too many chefs in the kitchen, and they're not good chefs. They're like the chefs at Applebee's or something like that. They're not like the chefs at Spago. And I think the further you can be removed from the Clutch Sports connection and the current regime of the Lakers, and you kind of have them prove to themselves that they're incompetent at their jobs, then maybe you could assemble a brain trust that can finally get this franchise back on track. But for this Lakers franchise, and I think when it comes down to it, I think at the end of the day, we both know, like you said, LeBron's comfortable here, and he's most likely not going to be traded this year. And I think that you got a lot of clickbait kind of hunters this offseason. The Laker headlines are slow to come by. So I think at the end of the day, I think Jeannie and LeBron, once this playoffs are over, they're going to try to do whatever they can. They're going to convince themselves that they can field a championship contender again. We both know it's very unlikely, but they are going to get to a point where they think that, hey, there's people out there that are going to want to sign with this team. There's moves to be made, but it's going to be very tricky because they really have backed themselves in a corner with the lack of assets, lack of picks. And to me, I think the biggest focus is just a little bit of a side here. I think that we talk about Anthony Davis. I think the big caveat here is, yes, I've said that I don't think they could put together a championship roster with LeBron James, but if you could guarantee me a 2020 unicorn AD where he plays 75 games and he's healthy throughout the postseason, that would definitely change things. And I think they need to hire the best doctors, the best mad scientists, whatever it takes this offseason to keep Anthony Davis on the court. To me, that'd be my primary focus, and that would change the whole complexion of the future of this franchise under LeBron James. But to me, there's nothing that really inspires much confidence from that standpoint.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they owe it. I think they owe it at least to themselves to run it back at least one more year with LeBron. And look, like LeBron is not going to get traded unless he wants to be traded. And I know you said the Lakers could talk to him, but it's going to be LeBron coming to them. I don't think Rob Pelinka's driving over to Brentwood to the Tiger Palace or whatever it's called and saying, "Hey, LeBron, we want to trade you. Like, let's talk about it." Like, I don't see that happening. It's a star-driven franchise. This is how they operate, for better or for worse. There's a lot of banners at crypto.com arena for how they've operated, RIP Staples. But I just do not see a world where they trade LeBron. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seems absolutely crazy to me and against everything this franchise has stood for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, crazier things have happened. I think that if you trade Russell Westbrook, you know that, hey, he might have a good season. He might make an all-star team, but wherever he goes, he's not going to be the centerpiece of a championship team. But on the flip side, if they trade LeBron somewhere and he gets his health right and he stays on the court and he goes to a team that has some depth that can preserve him, there's a pretty good chance that he could win another ring. And that'd be a bad look that the Lakers would have to live with for years to come. It would be the curse of the LeBron Beano, if you so to speak. But yeah, thanks as always, Eric Elo, my man over at Sports Illustrated's affiliate site, alllakers.com. You want to talk about any pieces you got rolling this weekend?
Well, we got some good Phil Jackson, Jeannie Buss stuff coming. A couple more quotes from that Jeannie Buss interview that Bill Plaschke did. And there will be some head coaching sizzle as well over the weekend with some of the candidates they're looking at. So keep an eye out for that on alllakers.com.
All right, so that's my man, Eric Elo. You can follow him. You're going to be impressed with this, Eric. You can follow him at EEULAU. How was that, man?
10 out of 10, Doug, as
Hey man, dude,
always.
I'm gonna get tattooed like right on my forearm or something like that. Maybe get a face tat. But thanks, Eric Elo, man, and we'll check with you very soon. And as always, go Lakers.